Jack Harlow stared out the viewport of Galactic Union Academy Station, watching the stars. He rubbed his sore muscles, still adjusting to the lower gravity. 3 weeks at the academy, and he still felt like an outsider. The door hissed open behind him. Jack didn't need to turn around to know who it was. The heavy footsteps and the smell of sulfur told him everything. Still homesick, Earthling? Veltrak's voice had that mocking tone Jack had come to hate. The reptilian alien stood nearly 7 feet tall, his scales shimmering with green and gold in the starlight. "Just enjoying the view," Jack said, keeping his voice calm. "Probably the only view you'll get of space. Everyone knows humans aren't meant to be here." Veltrak leaned against the wall, his long tail swishing back and forth. "The instructors only accepted you because of politics. An outreach program to the primitive worlds." Jack clenched his jaw but said nothing. He was used to this by now. As the only human in the prestigious Galactic Union Academy, he was an easy target. "I still don't understand why they classified your mudball as a Deathworld," Veltrak continued. "Your species can barely leave your own atmosphere without help." "Maybe there's more to being advanced than just technology," Jack muttered. Veltrak laughed, a harsh sound like stones grinding together. "Says the primitive who can't even survive 5 minutes without an atmosphere suit on most civilized worlds." He pushed off from the wall. "Don't be late for xenobiology. Professor Xylant wants presentations on our homeworlds today. Try not to embarrass yourself more than usual." After Veltrak left, Jack sighed and closed his eyes. 6 months. That's how long Earth's government had asked him to stick it out. 6 months to prove humans belonged among the stars. The xenobiology classroom hummed with the sounds of 24 different species breathing, moving, and whispering. Jack sat at the back, as usual. Most of the seats around him stayed empty. Only Lisa Chen, a 4-armed Praxian with blue-tinted skin, ever sat near him willingly. "Nervous about your presentation?" Lisa asked, her large, pupilless eyes blinking sideways. "A little," Jack admitted. "No one here seems to think Earth is worth learning about." "I'm interested," Lisa said. She was always kind to him, though Jack sometimes wondered if that was just because Praxians were natural empaths. "My people have never visited Earth. Our body chemistry wouldn't do well there." "Your turn, Cadet Harlow," Professor Xylant called from the front of the room. The professor was a Medusan with tendrils instead of arms and a body that seemed to flow rather than walk. Jack stood up and walked to the front, feeling everyone's eyes on him. He activated the holographic display with his data chip. "Earth," he began, as an image of his blue-green world appeared above the podium. "Third planet from our sun, which we call Sol. Average temperature ranges from -50 to +50 degrees Celsius, depending on location and season." A few gasps came from the assembled aliens. Jack knew that temperature range alone was considered extreme by galactic standards. Gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared, oxygen content about 21%, with a nitrogen-dominant atmosphere. Kazariot, an insectoid alien with gleaming compound eyes, chittered something to Veltrak that made the reptilian snort with laughter. Jack ignored them and continued. "Earth is classified as a Class 4 Deathworld due to its varied environments, extreme weather patterns, and diverse ecosystem of predators and pathogens." "Fascinating," Professor Xylant interrupted. "And yet your species evolved there naturally without genetic engineering. Can you tell us about human adaptations to such harsh conditions?" Jack nodded. "Humans are persistence predators. We can't run as fast as many animals, but we can run longer. We have highly efficient cooling systems. We sweat to lower our body temperature." "You leak water through your skin?" a gaseous alien named Forks asked, his containment suit vibrating with disgust. "Yes, it helps us regulate temperature. We can also survive in almost any climate on our planet with minimal protection. Human skin can heal from most minor wounds without medical intervention. Our immune systems fight off millions of microscopic invaders daily." Veltrak raised a clawed hand. "Professor, is the human exaggerating for effect? My research shows humans are quite fragile. Their bones break easily, they have no natural armor, and any puncture to their soft tissues can cause them to leak their vital fluids and die." The class laughed, Professor Xylon's tendrils rippled in what Jack had learned was their version of a shrug. Compared to your species, perhaps. But humans have surprising resilience in certain areas. Jack activated the next image, a human skeleton. Our bones may break, but they heal. We can survive losing over half our blood volume with medical help. We routinely consume substances that would be toxic to many species, like caffeine and capsaicin, for pleasure. You intentionally poison yourselves for fun? Dorzan, a crystalline entity, asked with a musical tone of disbelief. We call it spicy food and coffee, Jack said with a smile. And many humans can't start their day without it. The laughter grew louder. Jack felt his face heating up. Professor Xylon raised a tendril for silence. Continue, Cadet Harlow. Humans can adapt to almost any environment on Earth. We've settled in deserts, jungles, Arctic regions, and high mountains. Our bodies can acclimatize to different altitudes, temperatures, and conditions. Jack pulled up images of human settlements from around Earth. The floating cities of New Bangkok, the desert domes of the Sahara Reclamation Zone, the underwater research stations of the Pacific Trench. Our technology may not be as advanced as many Galactic Union species, but we've learned to thrive in conditions that would kill most of you without extensive environmental suits. That caused an uproar. Veltrak stood up, his scales flushing red with anger. This is absurd. The human thinks its primitive adaptations make it superior. Before Professor Xylon could respond, the classroom door slid open. Commander Lore, the head of tactical training, entered. The bipedal feline alien surveyed the room with golden eyes. Cadets, she said, her voice cutting through the noise. I've come to announce the location of your upcoming survival training exercise. The class immediately fell silent. The survival exercise was legendary at the Academy, a week-long test on an uninhabited planet that had ended many promising careers. This year, in light of our ongoing integration efforts with Earth, the Academy Board has chosen a new location. Commander Lore's whiskers twitched with what might have been amusement. You will be tested on Earth's North American continent in a region they call Montana. Gasps and protests erupted around the room. Jack couldn't help the smile that spread across his face. That's a Class 4 Deathworld, Kizrit chittered in. Panic. The gravity alone could crack my exoskeleton. The native predators could eat us, another cadet added. Commander Lore held up a paw for silence. You will have environmental suits and emergency beacons. Teams will be announced tomorrow. Training begins in 3 days, dismissed. As the aliens filed out, many shooting worried glances at Jack, Commander Lore approached him. Cadet Harlow, she said quietly, I fought for this location. Show them what humans can do on their own turf. Jack nodded, a new determination filling him. Yes, Commander, I will. For the first time since arriving at the Academy, Jack felt hope. Soon, his classmates would see his world, and Earth would do the teaching. For him, Jack stood at the viewport of the Academy transport ship, watching Earth grow larger. The blue and green world filled him with pride. He hadn't seen home in almost 6 months. How can you look so happy to see that death trap? Kizrit chittered. Beside him, the insectoid alien's compound eyes reflected the image of Earth many times over. It's beautiful, Jack said simply. It's terrifying, Kizrit replied. My species would die within minutes in your atmosphere. The nitrogen content alone would poison me. Lisa Chen joined them, her 4 blue arms carrying environmental suit components. I've been reading about Earth, she said. Your oceans cover most of the planet, and they're full of sodium chloride? Jack nodded. We call it salt water. Salt, Lisa's eyes widened. That would dissolve my outer membrane in seconds. The ship's announcement system chimed. All cadets report to the briefing room for final instructions. Planetfall in 2 hours. In the briefing room, Commander Lore stood before a large terrain map of western Montana. The room was filled with nervous cadets checking and double-checking their environmental suits. Your mission is simple, Commander Lore said. Teams will be dropped at different locations. You must navigate to the extraction point within 3 standard cycles. You will have basic survival equipment, emergency beacons for true emergencies only, and standard rations. The commander's tail swished as she surveyed the room. This exercise tests your ability to function in hostile environments. Earth's gravity, atmosphere, and wildlife present unique challenges. Listen to your team leaders. Jack noticed several of his classmates glancing at him. For once, they didn't look mocking. They looked worried. Commander Lorre displayed the team. Assignments on the main screen. Jack scanned for his name and found it on Team 6. Jack Harlow, Veltrak, Kazarit, and Dorzen. Jack's heart sank. He was teamed with his worst tormentor and 2 others who had never shown him anything but contempt. Team leaders are as follows. Commander Lorre continued. Team 1, Ryler. Team 2, Forzik. Team 3, Lisa Chen. Team 4, Nixala. Team 5, Jorex. Team 6, Jack Harlow. Murmurs spread through the room. Jack was as surprised as anyone. Commander Lorre met his eyes briefly, and Jack understood. This was his chance to prove himself. Veltrak immediately protested. Commander, with respect, placing the human in charge on his homeworld gives Team 6 an unfair advantage. Commander Lorre's whiskers twitched. On the contrary, Cadet Veltrak, I'm placing him in charge because he's the only one who won't need an environmental suit. The rest of you will be at a significant disadvantage with your movements restricted and visibility limited. Cadet Harlow may even things out. Veltrak's scales darkened with anger, but he said nothing more. After the briefing, Jack approached his team. They were all at the equipment lockers preparing their gear. I know none of you wanted me as team leader, Jack said, but I grew up hiking in terrain like this. I can help us get through this safely. Dorzen's crystalline form glinted under the lights as he turned to Jack. I have studied Earth geology. Your mountains contain high concentrations of iron that will interfere with our navigation equipment. That's why we'll navigate the old way, Jack explained, using landmarks, the sun and stars. Kazirit chittered nervously. And what about the predators? Earth has large carnivores, does it not? Yes, but they generally avoid humans, Jack assured her. I'll teach you what to do if we encounter any wildlife. Veltrak snorted. Listen to yourself. The old way. Primitive methods for a primitive world. Jack shrugged. Those primitive methods work when technology fails, and on Earth technology often fails. The drop shuttle was cramped with 4 cadets in their gear. Jack wore only his academy uniform, refusing the environmental suit that the others had spent an hour putting on. Veltrak's suit was the largest, with special accommodations for his tail. Kazarit's had extra limb sections for her 6 legs, and Dorzen's was specially designed to prevent his crystalline body from absorbing too much solar radiation. Final equipment check, Jack said as the shuttle began its descent through Earth's atmosphere. Make sure your suits are sealed properly. Kazarit adjusted her helmet nervously. The atmospheric pressure readings are fluctuating wildly. That's normal, Jack said. Weather systems move quickly here. The shuttle shook as it hit turbulence. Dorzen made a high-pitched sound of distress as his crystalline body vibrated. Is this normal too? Veltrak asked, gripping his seat tightly. Jack nodded, hiding a smile. Very normal. Earth's weather can be energetic. The shuttle's view screen showed mountains coming into view. Pine forests stretched across valleys, and a river wound through the wilderness like a silver ribbon. Prepare for landing, the autopilot announced. Drop zone approaching in 30 seconds. The shuttle touched down in a small clearing. The door hissed open, and Earth's air rushed in. Jack took a deep breath, savoring the pine scent and the crisp freshness. His teammates watched him nervously. Through their helmet visors. Atmosphere contains high levels of dihydrogen monoxide vapor, Kazarit reported, checking her suit's sensors. We call it humidity, Jack said, stepping out onto Earth soil. The gravity felt wonderful after months, in the Academy's lighter pull. Come on, we need to cover some ground before nightfall. The others followed cautiously. Their environmental suits whirred and clicked as they adjusted to Earth conditions. Gravity compensation systems operating at maximum capacity, Dorzen said. moving stiffly. My locomotion will be limited. Veltrak checked their navigation system and frowned. The extraction point is 23 kilometers east-northeast, but these readings are already fluctuating. Like I said, the minerals in these mountains will interfere with electronics, Jack said. We should head for higher ground to get our bearings. I agree with Veltrak, Kizarit said. The direct route is best. Jack sighed. The direct route goes through a river valley that's probably flooded this time of year. You don't know that, Veltrak said. Your information could be outdated. I grew up less than 100 miles from here, Jack argued. Trust me, we need to take the ridge route. Veltrak's eyes narrowed behind his visor. I am still senior. Cadet. We follow the navigation system. Jack knew he should assert his position as team leader, but years of taking orders from Veltrak at the academy made him hesitate. Fine, but when the equipment fails, remember I warned you. They set off, through the forest following Veltrak's lead. The alien cadets moved awkwardly in their suits, constantly startling at normal forest sounds. Birds calling, wind in the trees, small animals moving in the underbrush. What was that? Kizarit asked for the 10th time when a squirrel darted up a tree. Just a squirrel, Jack explained patiently. A small herbivore, completely harmless. It moved so fast, Dorzen observed. Earth life forms seem to have remarkable energy. High oxygen content in the atmosphere, Jack explained, makes for active animals. After 2 hours of hiking, the forest grew denser. The ground became soft and muddy. Just as Jack had predicted, they were heading into wetlands. My suit sensors are detecting increased moisture, Kizarit said nervously. We should turn back, Jack suggested. Take the ridge route I recommended. Before Veltrak could respond, a loud crack of thunder split the air. All three aliens froze, in terror. What was that? Dorzen asked, his crystal body trembling. Jack looked up at the darkening sky. Storm coming, and a big one. The sky turned dark above them. Another crack of thunder made Kizarit jump so high she nearly fell over. Rain began to fall, light at first, then heavier. We need shelter, Veltrak shouted over the wind that was picking up strength. Jack looked around quickly. This way, he said, pointing to a cluster of large rocks on higher ground. We can set up under that overhang. The team struggled through the increasingly muddy ground. Dorzen moved the slowest, his crystalline form poorly suited to Earth's gravity and soft terrain. My suit is detecting dangerous electrical discharges in the atmosphere, Kizarit said, her voice trembling. It's just lightning, Jack explained. Perfectly normal Earth weather. Normal? Veltrak hissed. Your planet regularly bombards itself with electrical attacks from the sky? Jack couldn't help but laugh. It's not an attack, it's a natural process. The atmosphere discharging built up electrical potential. They reached the rock overhang just as the rain became a downpour. Water streamed off their suits as they huddled together. We need to set up a proper camp, Jack said. This storm might last hours. Hours? Dorzen's crystalline form vibrated, with concern. Exposed to these elements for hours? Jack nodded. Welcome to Earth. Let me show you how humans handle this. Despite protests from his teammates, Jack went back into the rain. He gathered fallen branches, pine boughs, and stones. Working quickly, he built a small wall of rocks and branches at the open side of their shelter, leaving just enough space for entry. He layered pine boughs to create a windbreak. What are you doing? Veltrak asked, watching Jack work. Improving our shelter, Jack explained. Now I need to start a fire. A fire? Kizarit's compound eyes reflected the lightning flashing outside. You want to create more danger? Fire is a tool, Jack said patiently. It provides heat, light, and psychological comfort. Using his emergency kit, Jack started a small fire near the back of their rocky shelter, where the smoke could escape through cracks. The warm light filled their makeshift camp. The heat feels pleasant, Dorzen admitted, moving closer to the flames. Jack smiled. Fire has been humanity's friend for thousands of years. Now let's check our supplies and make a plan. Their supply, Packs contained standard ration bars, water purifiers, basic medical supplies, and navigation equipment. Jack examined the navigation unit. "Just as I thought," he said. "The signal is weak and erratic. We can't rely on this." Veltrak's scaled face showed frustration behind his helmet visor. "Without navigation, how do we find the extraction point?" Jack pointed to the sky, where breaks in the clouds occasionally revealed patches of blue. "The old way. Sun by day, stars by night." "Primitive," Veltrak muttered, but there was less contempt in his voice now. As night fell, the storm passed. Jack showed his teammates how to improve their camp, gathering fresh pine boughs for better ground insulation and collecting dry wood for the fire. "Your species does this regularly?" Kazariet asked as she watched Jack work. "Survive in the wild, without technology?" "Some of us do it for fun," Jack said. "We call it camping or hiking." "For fun?" Dorzin's crystalline body reflected the firelight in beautiful patterns. "Deliberately exposing yourselves to the elements?" Jack nodded. "It connects us to our planet, to our history." Veltrak was checking his environmental suit, which had started making worrying noises. "My atmospheric filters are already at 30% capacity," he said with concern. "They weren't designed for this much particulate matter. Earth air is full of pollen, dust, and moisture," Jack explained. "Let me see if I can help." Jack examined Veltrak's suit and found the filter units. Using his utility tool, he carefully cleaned the external components. "This should help," he said. "But we'll need to do this every day." "Why do humans even live on a planet like this?" Kazariet asked. "So many dangers, so many challenges." Jack shrugged. "It's our home. We evolved to handle these conditions." "Speaking of dangers," Dorzin said suddenly. "What was that sound?" They all fell silent. From the darkness beyond their fire came a low howl, followed by several answering calls. "Wolves," Jack said. "They're keeping their distance from the fire, but they're curious about us." "Predators?" Veltrak gripped his standard-issue stun baton tightly. "Yes, but they rarely attack humans," Jack assured them. "They're more afraid of us than we are of them." "I doubt that very much," Kazariet chittered, backing closer to the fire. Jack added more wood to strengthen the flames. "The fire will keep them away. We should take turns keeping watch tonight." "I will take first watch," Veltrak volunteered, surprising Jack. "My species requires less sleep than yours." Jack nodded. "Wake me in 4 hours." That night, as Jack slept on the hard ground, he didn't hear the quiet conversation between his teammates. "The human seems completely at ease here," Dorzin whispered. "No environmental suit, no protection," Kazariet agreed, "and he built this shelter in minutes." Veltrak stared into the darkness. "Perhaps there is more to these Earth people than we thought." Morning came with clear skies. Jack woke feeling refreshed, but his alien teammates looked miserable. Their suits had run various warnings throughout the night, and none of them had slept well with the strange Earth sounds all around them. "Day 2, Jack announced cheerfully. "We need to find water and get our bearings." "Our water recyclers should provide enough fluid," Veltrak said. Jack shook his head. "Not if they're working overtime in these conditions. We need a natural water source." "Natural water?" Kazariet sounded horrified. "Full of microorganisms and minerals. Earth water is perfectly safe for humans," Jack said, "and I can purify it for your suit's intake systems." Jack led them to higher ground. From a ridge, he could see a small valley with a stream running through it. "There," he pointed, "fresh water and a clear path east." As they hiked down toward the stream, a sudden crack made everyone freeze. Dorzin had stepped on a dry branch, breaking it. "Your planet's vegetation is so fragile," Dorzin said. "And loud." Jack smiled. "It's helpful, actually. Those sounds warn us of approaching animals or people." At the stream, Jack showed them how to filter water using materials from their packs and natural elements like sand and charcoal from their fire. "This is actually clever," Veltrak admitted as he watched Jack work, "using natural materials to filter contaminants." Jack filled their water containers. Humans have been doing this for thousands of years. Before we had your level of technology, we had to understand our environment deeply. Your species survived on this world without advanced technology? Kazarit seemed amazed. Not just survived, Jack said. We thrived. As they continued their journey, they received a partial transmission from command. The signal was broken, but they heard enough to know other teams were struggling. 2 cadets had already been evacuated with environmental suit failures. Team 3 encountered a large indigenous predator, the patchy transmission reported. Emergency. Evacuation underway. What kind of predator? Dorzen asked nervously. Jack thought for a moment. Probably a bear. They're curious and can be dangerous if they feel threatened. And how do humans deal with bears? Veltrak asked. Make noise. Appear. Large don't run, Jack explained. Most Earth predators won't attack unless provoked or very hungry. By mid-afternoon, they had made good progress toward the extraction point. Jack used the sun to navigate, occasionally climbing trees to get a better view of landmarks. How can you climb so easily? Kazarit asked, watching Jack scale a tall pine. The gravity doesn't exhaust you? Jack shrugged as he dropped back down. I grew up in this gravity. My muscles and bones developed under these conditions. Your physical strength is impressive, Veltrak said reluctantly. For a human. Jack smiled. For the first time since joining the academy, he felt like he might be earning their respect. The 4th day on Earth began with a heavy fog that filled the valley. Jack woke before the others and checked their supplies. The rations were running low, and 2 of his teammates' environmental suits were showing warning signs. Veltrak's suit had a small tear near the joint of his left arm. The reptilian alien had tried to hide it, but Jack noticed the slight hissing sound of escaping air. We need to fix that, Jack said, pointing to the tear. Earth's air won't kill you immediately, but it's not good for your lungs. Veltrak looked surprised that Jack had noticed. The repair kit isn't working. The sealant won't bond properly in this humidity. Jack thought for a moment. I have an idea. He collected sap from several pine trees and heated it over their morning fire until it became sticky. Using strips from his own uniform sleeve, he created a patch. This is what we used before we had synthetic adhesives, he explained, as he carefully applied the mixture to Veltrak's suit. Tree sap has natural antibacterial properties too. Veltrak watched with interest. Your species uses the planet's resources well. We had to, Jack said. Hold still while this sets. Kazarit approached, her exoskeleton clicking nervously. The water recycler in my suit has stopped working, she admitted. I have approximately 12 hours of hydration left. We'll find more water today, Jack assured her. I can hear a larger stream nearby. They packed up their camp and continued toward the extraction point. Jack estimated they were about halfway there. The fog lifted as the sun rose higher, revealing a beautiful mountain landscape. Your world has a strange beauty to it, Dorzen said, his crystalline form catching the sunlight. Harsh but magnificent. Jack smiled. That's how most humans see it too. They walked for several hours with Jack pointing out various plants and animals. He showed them which berries were safe to eat and which mushrooms to avoid. The aliens were fascinated by Earth's diverse ecosystem. On my homeworld, we have only 17 species of plants, Kazarit said. Here, there seem to be hundreds just in this small area. Thousands, actually, Jack corrected. Earth's biodiversity is one of its greatest strengths. Around midday, they reached the larger stream Jack had heard. It was actually a fast-moving river swollen with recent rain. We need to cross this, Jack said, studying the water. The extraction point is on the other side. Cross it? Veltrak looked at the rushing water with alarm. How? We can't swim in these suits. Jack walked along the bank looking for a narrower spot. We'll have to build a bridge or a raft. Suddenly the ground beneath them trembled. A small rock slide began on the hillside above. Move! Jack shouted, pushing Kazarit out of the way as rocks tumbled down. The team scattered, but not quickly enough. A large boulder knocked Dorzen into the river with a splash. The crystalline alien disappeared beneath the rushing water. Without hesitation, Jack dove into the cold river. The current was strong, but Jack was a strong swimmer. He could see Dorzin's reflective form being dragged downstream, scraping against rocks. The alien was heavy, much heavier than a human of similar size, but Jack managed to grab onto a protruding crystal edge. Fighting against the current, Jack pulled them both toward the shore. Veltrak and Kizariet ran along the bank, watching helplessly. When Jack got close enough to the edge, Veltrak reached out a clawed hand and helped pull them onto dry land. Jack lay on the riverbank, gasping for breath. Dorzin wasn't moving. His crystalline body had several cracks and his environmental suit was completely shattered. "Is he dead?" Kizariet asked quietly. Jack checked for signs of life the way they had learned in xenobiology class. "Dorzin's species didn't breathe, but they had a faint internal glow when alive. He's alive but damaged," Jack said. "We need to stabilize him." Using strips from his uniform and more tree sap, Jack carefully bound the worst cracks in Dorzin's crystal body. Then he built a small fire to help them all dry out. "You jumped into the water without hesitation," Veltrak said, watching Jack work. "Your environmental suit, I don't have one, remember?" Jack said with a small smile. "That's my point," Veltrak replied. "You risked your life. The water temperature alone could have killed many species." Jack shrugged. "Humans are pretty good with cold water, and he's my teammate." After an hour, Dorzin's internal glow strengthened. The crystalline alien slowly regained consciousness. "What happened?" he asked weakly. "Rock slide. You fell in the river," Jack explained. "How do you feel?" "Damaged, but functional," Dorzin replied. "My environmental controls are offline. I am exposed to your atmosphere." "Earth air won't hurt your species much," Jack said. "But your temperature regulation might be affected. Stay close to the fire." They decided to rest for the remainder of the day to allow Dorzin to recover. Jack used the time to fashion a crude stretcher from branches and strips of fabric from their packs. They would need to carry Dorzin the rest of the way. As evening approached, Jack went to find food. He returned with several fish he had caught with a makeshift spear. "You killed those creatures with a pointed stick?" Kizariet asked, amazed. "Fishing is an ancient human skill," Jack said as he prepared the fish for cooking. "Our ancestors did this for thousands of years. Your species' connection to this planet is remarkable," Veltrak said. "You understand it in ways we never could." Jack nodded. "That's what it means to evolve on a world instead of just visiting it in a protective bubble." As they ate dinner around the fire, a strange howling started in the distance. Different from the wolves they had heard before, this sound was deeper and more menacing. "What is that?" Kizariet asked nervously. Jack frowned. "Mountain lion, maybe. They usually avoid humans, but with Dorzin injured, we should be careful." Veltrak pulled out his stun baton. "My weapon is waterlogged. It may not function properly." "We'll take turns keeping watch," Jack said, "and keep the fire bright." That night, as Jack took the first watch, he realized how much had changed in just 4 days. His alien teammates were no longer mocking him. Instead, they were relying on him. Earth, the planet they had dismissed as primitive, was testing them all in ways the Academy never could. Around midnight, Jack heard a twig snap nearby. He added wood to the fire, making it flare brighter, and stood up slowly. 2 reflective eyes stared at him from the darkness. The mountain lion had found them. Jack grabbed a burning branch from the fire and held it out, making himself look bigger. "Hey!" he shouted. "Get out of here!" The large cat growled but backed away from the flames. It circled their camp for a while, then finally disappeared into the night. Jack exhaled slowly. Tomorrow would be their 5th day on Earth. They still had to cross the river, carry an injured teammate, and reach the extraction point. Their equipment was failing, their supplies were low, and the journey was getting more dangerous. But for the first time since joining the Academy, Jack felt confident. On Earth, he wasn't a primitive outsider. He was in his element. Morning came with clear skies on their 5th day on Earth. Jack woke early and checked on his teammates. Dorzin's condition had improved slightly, but the crystalline alien was still too damaged to walk on his own. Kizariet's water recycler remained broken, and Veltrak's suit was now showing oxygen level warnings. "We need to cross this river today," Jack said as they ate the last of their ration bars for breakfast. "The extraction point is about 10 kilometers on the other side." "How?" Veltrak asked, looking at the rushing water. "Dorzen cannot swim, and our suits are too damaged for deep water." Jack studied the river. "We'll build a raft." Using his utility knife, Jack cut down several small trees. He showed his teammates how to strip the branches and cut the logs to equal lengths. Using vines and strips from their packs, they lashed the logs together. "Is this primitive construction really going to float?" Kazarit asked doubtfully. "Humans have used rafts like this for thousands of years," Jack assured her. "The wood is buoyant enough to hold all of us." It took most of the morning to complete the raft. They carefully placed Dorzen in the center, with Kazarit beside him. Jack and Veltrak would use long poles to steer. "Ready?" Jack asked as they pushed the raft into the shallows. The others nodded nervously. Jack and Veltrak stepped onto the raft, nearly tipping it before finding their balance. Using the poles, they pushed away from the shore and into the current. The river was stronger than Jack had expected. The raft spun slowly as they tried to control it. Water splashed over the logs, making Kazarit click nervously. "Keep your pole in the water," Jack instructed Veltrak. "Push against the bottom when you can reach it." They were halfway across when disaster struck. A submerged rock tore at the vines, holding their raft together. Logs shifted, creating gaps. Water began pouring through. "We're breaking apart," Kazarit cried. Jack looked at the distant shore, then at his struggling teammates. "Everyone hold on to the logs," he ordered. "Veltrak, keep Dorzen secure." Jack stripped off his jacket and boots. "I'm going to swim to shore with a rope and pull. You in." Before they could protest, Jack dove into the cold water. The current immediately grabbed him, pulling him downstream. Using strong strokes, Jack fought his way across, the rope tied around his waist trailing behind him. The water was freezing, the current powerful. Twice Jack went under, swallowing river water before surfacing again. His muscles burned with effort, but he kept swimming. Finally, his feet touched the bottom. Jack dragged himself onto the shore, coughing up water. Without pausing to rest, he secured the rope around a sturdy tree and began pulling. The raft was coming apart completely now. Veltrak had one arm around Dorzen and was holding onto a log with his other hand. Kazarit clung to another section, her 6 legs wrapped tightly around the wood. Jack pulled with all his strength. Slowly, the remains of their raft moved toward shore. When they were close enough, Jack waded back into the water to help them. "Your species is insane," Veltrak gasped as Jack helped him drag Dorzen onto dry land. That water was cold enough to kill most galactic races. "Cold but survivable," Jack said, shivering. "For humans, anyway." They collapsed on the riverbank, exhausted. 3 of their packs had been lost in the river. Only Jack's remained, containing a small emergency kit. "And the water purifier, what now?" Kazarit asked. Her exoskeleton clicking with what Jack had learned was her species' version of shivering. Jack gathered wood for a fire. "First we warm up, then we keep moving." The fire helped them recover. Jack used the heat to dry his clothes and help repair more damage to his teammates' suits. Veltrak's oxygen system was now operating at only 40% capacity. "We should still signal for emergency extraction," Veltrak suggested. "Dorzen needs medical attention, and our suits are failing." Jack shook his head. "The extraction point is less than a day's journey. We can make it." "Why are you so determined to finish this mission?" Kazarit asked. "We could easily call for help." Jack stared into the fire. "Because this isn't just an exercise for me. It's about proving that humans belong at the Academy. If we call for help, it just confirms what everyone already thinks, that Earth is too dangerous, that humans are only accepted out of pity." There was silence for a moment. Then Veltrak spoke. "I was wrong about your species," he said quietly. "I thought your technology was primitive, your methods outdated. But you've kept us alive in conditions that would have killed us within hours without you." Jack looked up, surprised. You jumped into freezing water, Kazariot added. You've gone. Without an environmental suit for 5 days on a world that we needed extensive protection, just to visit briefly.
My species would be unable to survive here at all without artificial assistance, Dorzen said weakly. Yet yours thrives. Jack felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the fire. Thank you, he said simply. They continued their journey that
afternoon, with Jack and Veltrak taking turns carrying Dorzen on the makeshift stretcher. The terrain became steeper as they approached the extraction point, which was located on a plateau. Their communications device, damaged by water, crackled.
To life briefly.
They heard Commander Lore's voice. All teams check in. Repeat. All teams. This is Team 6, Jack responded. We're approaching the extraction point. 3 team members with environmental damage and 1 with injuries, but we're proceeding on foot. The only response was static, but it was enough to know they were getting closer. As sunset approached, they finally reached the plateau. In the distance, they could see the Academy shuttle and several figures moving around it. We made it, Jack said, a smile spreading across his face. Thanks to you, Veltrak replied. They were the last team to arrive. As they approached the shuttle, Commander Lore came to meet them, her feline features showing surprise. Team 6, she said. We expected you to signal for emergency extraction days ago. Your tracker stopped transmitting after the 2nd day. We had some equipment failures, Jack explained, helping Dorzen toward the medical team that rushed forward. But we managed. Commander Lore's whiskers twitched with what might have been a smile. So I see. As medics took care of his teammates, Jack stood alone, looking out over the Montana wilderness.
In 5 days, it had tested them all. But it had also taught his alien classmates something about humans that no classroom lecture could have conveyed. 3 weeks later, Jack sat in the Academy cafeteria. Instead of sitting alone, he was surrounded
by cadets from different species, all asking questions about Earth and humans. Veltrak joined them, his scales gleaming with a new polish. The new environmental suits have been redesigned based on our experiences, he told Jack. They're incorporating some of your primitive solutions, like natural fiber backups for when the synthetic components fail. Jack smiled. Glad to hear. There's something else, Veltrak said. 3 more human cadets arrived yesterday. The Academy is expanding the Earth recruitment program. Jack looked across the cafeteria where 3 young humans sat, looking as out of place as he once had. One of them was being teased by an upperclassman about coming from a primitive planet. Before Jack could intervene, Veltrak walked over to the table. They're from Earth, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear.
The Deathworld that made us call for emergency extraction while their team member carried us to safety. The cafeteria fell silent. On their world, Veltrak continued, what doesn't kill them makes them stronger, and almost nothing kills them. Jack watched as the alien cadets looked at the new humans with newfound respect. Earth had earned its place among the stars not despite being a Deathworld, but because of it.